weed doesn't do that in that same sense, right? Like you could you get high off marijuana, right? But it's not to the same sense where you start dancing naked on top of a table with Ronald McDonald. So I thought you were just about to say from a neo-Nazi, and I was like, don't. The sheriff department will put up like the days or the week's mugshots. Bet you're going through that and there's a fucking picture. Why are you so mad about vegetables?
Well, let me tell you, they just sit in a wheelchair all day doing nothing.
So let's get into some, I put this under silly topics, which is funny because, well, I just couldn't be bothered with reorganizing everything.
Right.
This came up actually about a while ago, and by a while I mean about a little over a month ago. But we wanted to talk about the last time we were recording an episode, but we ran out of time basically. So we got two things here. We got the TikTok ban and then Birthright Citizenship. So
I could have made this a lot longer, but I was like, we're not a political podcast, so I was like, I'll just stick with those two.
Well, you could have put more in there, obviously.
If it comes up naturally, I will. There are some things I'd like to discuss, but only if it naturally happens, because I don't want to. Like I said, I'm more of a moderate. Like,
why don't you?
I mean, we dogging on Biden too, but
well, that's just because it's easy target, right? Why don't you message it to me, and then I will not necessarily try to wheeze it in, but if I want to, I can kind of make a determination myself if I want to bring it up today or not.
It's all right. We just stick with these two.
Okay, so with the TikTok ban, now this started actually under the first Trump administration, and the reasoning behind it is that ByteDice, right, who owns TikTok,
yes,
ByteDice is, for lack of, more or less basically owned by the Chinese Communist Party, right?
Yes.
Not exactly, but they basically are.
So, to break it down a little further, the company itself is owned by a Chinese company, right?
Right.
The CEO of that company, however, is Singaporean. And he makes that very clear that he has no relation to the Chinese government whatsoever. He's from Singapore.
Okay, yes, but however, the Chinese Communist Party has a quite large stake within ByteDice.
Right.
So it's basically, they're not owned by the CCP, but they're owned by the CCP. Right.
So
more or less, right?
Yeah.
Breaking it down in simple terms, right? It would be like it's the same thing as like owning a share. It'd be like saying Elon Musk owns Tesla. Well, yes and no. He owns the largest stake in Tesla, but he doesn't own Tesla. Not like in the same sense that the France family owns NASCAR, because the France family completely owns NASCAR. It's privately held, where Tesla is a public company. But Elon Musk holds the largest stake within Tesla. At least he did. I don't know if he sold it all. Or you could say like the Ford family still owns the largest stake of Ford Motor Company.
Yeah.
So, the theory behind the thinking behind the ban, again, this happened under the first Trump administration. At least the snowball or the ball got rolling under the first Trump administration, is that since it's owned by the CCP, the Chinese Communist Party was then spying or taking the information, because how TikTok designs your algorithm, basically figures out your algorithm is it figures out what you watch, and then tailors the algorithm to you to make you on the app as long as possible, which then creates more ad revenue. YouTube does the same thing, right? They all do the same thing.
Yeah, all of them do.
They all
Snapchat,
do because they want
Facebook,
they want you to be on the app as much as they possibly can to get more ad revenue. Now, there's moral reasons behind that, but then because of that, though, then the Chinese Communist Party, the thinking was the government of China could then take that information to then use it as they will about what the American people and possibly for spying. Were they doing that? I don't know. I don't work for the government, right? I wouldn't put it being what the Chinese communists do, wouldn't put it past them to do something like that at all.
Right.
Right? Like that's totally not, it's not be like saying that like Luxembourg or the Vatican City was doing that. I'd be like, are you stupid? But saying China, be like, yeah, I could believe that. Totally could believe that. Are they doing it? I don't know, but totally could believe it.
So, to pretty much butt in here. First things first, I understand a lot of people get, revenue and stuff like that from TikTok, doing like TikTok shop and stuff. Besides that, I could care less if TikTok got banned. I don't really use it. I go on Instagram Reels and shit because, well, it's more related to my humor, but that's besides the point. So that's not my issue. The issue I take with it is why a good majority, I don't know if everybody in our government did it, but a good majority agreed that TikTok should be banned when there are other pressing issues at hand that should be taken care of. That's my issue with it, is why in the fuck can our government agree on banning a fucking stupid ass app? Who gives a fuck when it does the same thing as every other app, takes your information, which you agree to, let it happen.
It's not the taking of information that the government doesn't like. It's who can access that taken information. Right? Like,
right.
The Chinese Communist Party doesn't have an interest in Snapchat.
Well,
they don't have an interest in YouTube or Google. Or a significant stake in it, I should say, right? To where they can look at the data that Google collects for targeted ads or for the YouTube algorithm or whatever, what have you.
Did you know that that there is an app that is confirmed to be a Chinese app that could take your information? It's called the Red Note app, also known as Zhaohongshu. That's the Chinese name for it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where everybody was going to afterwards. And I guess people found out that there is like really close related ties to the Chinese Communist Party.
Mm-hmm.
So people were actually going to a fucking app that was going to harm them. And I mean, the government didn't say anything about that either. So who fucking knows? Who fucking knows?
Well, you gotta remember, it's hard. I think technically Biden was the one that signed the TikTok ban, right?
Yeah,
they either had
Trump got it rolling, and then Biden pretty much sealed the deal.
Right. They either had to sell it to an American company, so it would be something similar to, like, let's take for the example, World of Tanks, Wargaming, right? Wargaming.net, Wargaming, whatever you want to call them, owns the IP to World of Tanks. However, in China, Western companies cannot have, direct companies make games in China. It's weird like that. So there's a separate company that Wargaming sold the rights to World of Tanks to run the Chinese server or the Asia server, right? It's still as labeled as World of Tanks, but it's not run by Wargaming. Same thing when the Russia-Ukraine war happened. Wargaming sold the rights to the Russian server to, I think it's called Lesta Studios or something like that. So it's still called World of Tanks, but
it's
it
not
doesn't
under wargaming.
It's not under wargaming. So it's kind of weird, and that's kind of what the U.S. government was saying that TikTok had to do. They had to sell the American portion of it, or I guess the American part, or whatever you want to call it, that same idea to an American company to be run in America.
Yeah.
And I know at first the leader was Microsoft to buy it, but I think after paying $67 or whatever billion it was to buy Activision, they are a little strapped for cash right now.
Hey, make better games.
Yeah. So I don't know what's going to happen. Now, obviously, it did go dark on January 19th. And then the first thing that Trump did, or he actually said it before he was even sworn in, saying that he was going to sign an executive order extending the deadline for the ban by, I think it was, 3 months? Something like that, 90 days. Like that. I think it was 90 days. And so then TikTok came. I think it was only down for like 6 or 8 hours. It was only down for a little while. But of course, everybody like started losing their mind. Like, oh my God, I can't live without TikTok. Which is another problem in itself right there, that an app goes down for 6 hours and basically people were starting to throw themselves off buildings. It's hard because for me, obviously the US government would know more than me on about what the CCP's ties to ByteDance are, right? They're going to know more than me. That's a fact.
Right. It'd be nice if they could share just a little bit of that information.
Probably don't for probably good reasons. I don't know how I feel about that. Like, again, like you said, if I don't use TikTok, and so if it were to get banned, would not affect me one bit. Not one bit. Would not change my life at all. I don't think I've gone on TikTok maybe less than a dozen times. So would not affect me one bit.
Well, like so my dad is wholeheartedly against TikTok, right? Excuse me. And I asked him, I was like, so, what makes it a security risk? Because, I'm playing devil's advocate with him.
Right.
Like, what makes it a security risk? Well, they got your banking information and stuff. They can take your banking information. And I almost looked at him and said, Dad, do you have your card tied to your Meta account or your Facebook account? And I know he does because I send him money.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, Facebook already has your banking information. What makes you think that they aren't going to sell that shit to a broker? And then that broker's going to sell even more shit to even more shadier people. Because the way that the internet works, lo and behold, is that the ads that you supposedly see... Holy shit, I might have to hit my inhaler. I'm fucking wheezing like a dog over here. That you supposedly see coincidentally is just a broker selling your data to companies to make ads that are formatted to you personally.
Right, it's targeted ads. It's all from cookies. It's all from cookies. That's the point of cookies.
So it's like, it doesn't matter who owns it. Okay, I don't think China's going to give a fuck about how... The fuck is that noise? Sorry, I just heard a noise in the background. I think it's my fiance's ice maker. But not going to touch on that at all. So the issue is like, why?
Well, you didn't say noisemaker. You just said ice maker. Like, if you would have said noisemaker, it would be like, oh, noisemaker.
No,
eh?
that's what's making the noise.
So it is her noisemaker.
Essentially, yeah, but it's just an ice maker making that shit.
Oh, okay. So was it the starfish?
The what?
The starfish, or was it the credit card swipe?
No, it's an ice maker.
But you said it was a noisemaker.
Yeah, that's what's making the noise.
Oh, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, she's not. Oh my god. Anyway,
I like how you said, like, yep, we're not going to touch that, and then here we are, fingers all over it.
So, but the thing is like, I don't think any country's gonna care about what fucking what Jeremy's fucking watching in his free time. So that's the issue. Is like, okay, if I could understand if like TikTok was somehow able to create like a place where United States secrets could be shared, then okay, I can understand that.
I think that's
I think a good idea was that anybody that has a government issued phone can have TikTok on it. There you go. But don't ban it for the rest of the American people because they got an email from adamandeve.com. Who gives a fuck?
No, I think so. Like you said, the banning of government phones, fine, right?
Yes.
I think the point of it though is because
if I can't have it, nobody can.
No, it's not Mickey Mouse. It's just government provided phones that were banned from having it.
For now, yes.
Right. But obviously, people who work within the government, within the CIA, they have kids, and their phones aren't government provided. The kids aren't. And I'm sure the CIA workers have their own personal phones.
Yeah.
And so I think the thinking is that if the CCP could get into or find out information on the kid's phone, they could get secrets about possible spies within the CIA that are possibly spying on what we in the U.S. would be considered foreign adversaries, who China would be considered close allies. I think that's
right.
That's
but
the
what?
Thing, that's the thinking behind it.
But what 12-year-old kid is gonna have government secrets on their phone?
No, but they can. It's a door. That's what it is. It's not that the kids can have government secrets. But then again, kids leak dumb shit. Insert developer's kid from GTA 6.
That's a game I could give less fuck about that. But the issue is,
but I'm saying is it's a path, right? It's a path. They could track that phone, follow it, and see if that phone has interactions with suspect people in Taiwan, in Thailand, in China. Rush, wherever have you, right? Where it's going to matter to China. I think that's the thinking. Not necessarily that the 12-year-old in, 6th grade is somehow working within the CIA tracking, the process of Chinese nukes. No, I don't think that's the problem. That's not happening. I don't think it's happening. I think what it is that if the parent to that 12-year-old kid is tracking the process of Chinese-made nukes, there's a tie there. And you can, obviously within the internet and technology, you can bridge that gap.
Wait, hold on.
Because backgrounds only go so deep. But if you could get into it through IPs are they're permanent to a device. Each device has its own IP.
But you can say that TikTok is like the biggest social media app right now, right?
Probably is, yeah.
Now, if you clear up the air, all right, I'm just taking the information that you give me. Essentially, to me, it sounds like you're saying that the Chinese are, now correct me if I'm wrong, please, taking and putting their secrets, nuclear secrets, on TikTok.
No, I didn't say that they're having them on TikTok. I did not say that at all. I'm saying that if the CIA has spies everywhere, right?
Yes.
That's kind of well known.
Oh, you're saying if they have spies in their own government.
Correct.
Oh, okay.
And they can tie it back to kids, dumbass sixth graders in America, and now they have that link. Right? They have that link. That's where the Chinese government's like, here, let's throw our fucking planes of nukes up on TikTok and see if anyone notices. No, they're not doing that. They're trying to see if they can weed out any suspicions. I think that's what our government thinks.
You don't know how to weed them out.
Yeah, I think that's what our government is thinking.
Okay. That they could potentially find the spies that we may or may not have planted.
Right, are also double agents within China, right, that we have turned. So I think that's the thinking. So
I still think that it'll be okay. I don't think there's enough correlation between having a kid and being part of the CIA. Like, that's the thing. If you're thinking about doing spies or whatever, right? And if you have kids, your priority list is going to go all the way down. Like, you're not going to be sent on any missions because that's exactly how they can get leverage on you. If we're thinking properly, right? If we're thinking like spies, if you have kids and and you're a spy and they find out that you have kids and then they use your kids to track you and they're like, hey, that motherfucker looks familiar. Wait a damn minute. That's fucking Gerald down the hallway. Let's kick his ass. And, they could find your kids and shit and be like, listen, if you don't do what we say, we're going to kill your kids. And then obviously, people are going to be like, not be like, go ahead. I can make more of them. Right? Nobody's going to be like that.
Homegrown. Yeah.
So
yes, most likely people that have kids are not continuing the spy. Most are not continuing within CIA spy stuff. Not
they're
saying
just
they
desk
are.
jockeys now.
Not necessarily, but it might not necessarily be kids. It could just be friends and family, right?
Right.
If there's any type of connection anywhere, right? And I think also too, the thinking is that the Chinese Communist Party can have, since they have a vested interest in ByteDice or TikTok, they can have them slowly adjust the algorithm knobs, you want to call it that, right? To start kind of either swaying the American public in,
showing
beliefs.
propaganda.
Yes, correct. Or, dissing on the U.S. government. Like, oh, if you think we're bad, if you don't like the U.S. government, come move to Beijing where everything's great. No, it's not, but...
I really want to say that, a lot more people are hopefully smart enough to see through that crap, but I know damn well it's not.
I just went to a NASCAR
and it's the same
race,
thing.
And I was around 100,000 other people, Dylan. Trust me, there's some stupid fucks out there. All right.
I know there's stupid fucks out there, but I'm talking about like enough to see, like, a lot of the times if people believe in, communist rhetoric or whatever have you, they usually move to that place because that's what they believe in. Not
always, though.
Not always, but
because if that was the case, you'd never have a problem with domestic terrorism from ISIS.
So. Right, but so that's.
I think that's the thing. Obviously, is it right or wrong? I don't know, because we're just a couple of, dipshits from Michigan.
Smooth brains.
Exactly. We don't have any of the information that the U.S. government has. And obviously they have a lot more. They're probably listening in right now. So they obviously have a lot more information on this.
Hi, Mr. FBI agent.
Yeah, right. Your wife was really fun last night.
Motherfucker's like, no, she wasn't, because I was home.
No, I'm gay. Oh, never mind. So in a roundabout way, do I care if the ban goes into effect? No, I don't. I don't care, because it's not going to affect me in any way. Do I think the ban should go into effect? It's tough because it's going to set a big precedence. I think this is probably going to be the first time that the U.S. government has banned a major app like that.
Yeah.
They may have banned certain other apps, right, because of X, Y, and Z reasons. That's fine, right? But to the level that TikTok is, that's gonna set some precedence.
Yeah. Again, I'm gonna circle back real quick. Like I said, my issue, could care less if TikTok gets banned or not. It's a social media app. Is there some type of infringement on freedom of speech? Sure, you could argue that. That's not my issue. My issue is that we have a majority of the government agreeing that this app should be banned, yet we somehow can't figure out how to stop, kids from dying every year in school shootings. Like that's what pisses me off. Actually, I could do what are you so mad about on this fucking shit, but that's my issue. And I understand, it's a lot more complicated than just, let's take our guns away. Well, you can't do that because you have the Second Amendment.
and that's not going to solve anything.
And guess what? That's my thing. I also have guns. So, and do I want my guns taken away? Absolutely not. I use that, they're tools to use to protect yourself.
Mm.
The issue is that if we take a look at all the country, I looked this up. Statistically speaking, the United States has the highest amount of mass shootings. And to say that it's not even close is a little bit of an understatement. I can't remember what country it is, but the second highest country has, in the last, I think 10 years, I think that's what it was, had 300 mass shootings. Or a little over 300, which is a lot. That's a lot, right? 10 years? Any mass shooting is a lot, right?
Right.
The United States took the number one spot with over 1,500 mass shootings in the last 10 years.
So this is from the Rockefeller Institute of Government. Hold on.
A little bit of an issue.
So this, what do you mean?
Not the Rockefeller thing.
However
however many mass shootings we've had in the last 10 years is.
Okay, so I don't know what is considered a mass shooting, right? Like, what's the threshold for mass shooting?
Like a mass serial killer is, I think, 2 or more people killed.
Then that's a pretty low bar, right?
I don't know what's considered as a mass shooting.
Right, but that's what I mean. It's kind of a subjective determination of what is a mass shooting.
Okay. If you go, example, if you go to a fucking school and start shooting it up, but you don't kill anybody,
right,
that's still a mass shooting.
It's still a mass.
Right. So I think if it's like anything to do with a public place and there's, I don't know, at least a group of people there.
Right, but exactly. But my point is that it's kind of subjective in that aspect of what is considered a mass shooting. Like, for most people, a serial killer is somebody who kills in the same way, everything about it is the same 3 times in a row. Once it's done 3 times, that's a serial killer, right? 3 is usually that mark. Mass shooting, okay, if you say 2 people, well, if I went up and I killed 2 people, that doesn't really make it a mass shooting. I just killed 2 people.
Right.
But if I go and kill 10, then yes, it's a different story. If you go and kill
or like
without any care, I think it's if you go and kill without any care, there's no specifics behind it, then you're getting into mass shooting territory. Right? Like, you're not just targeting, because generally speaking, if you're targeting a certain group of folk, now it becomes a terrorist attack.
It's still mass shooting, but yeah.
Right, but now it's categorized under terrorism.
Yeah.
Because if you go and target
or a hate crime.
Or a hate crime, but now it's not, it's still, yes, a mass shooting, but it's not going to be categorized as a mass shooting anymore. It's going to be categorized as either a hate crime or terrorism, right? Like, if you go and shoot up a synagogue, it's probably not going to be a mass shooting. It's going to be characterized as terrorism or a hate crime against Jews. Or not against, Jews or, whatever. Muslims. So,
well, that's like the New Zealand shooting.
Exactly.
They called it a mass shooting, but the basis behind it was a hate crime.
Was a hate crime. So it's like, yes, it's a mass shooting, but it wasn't done. He went and was targeting a specific group of people.
Yeah.
So from 2000 to 2022, so over a 22-year period, this put together, let's see, the top 16 countries, the amount of mass shootings that these 16 countries had. Now, it's hard to say because, like, one of them they have on here is they don't have on here is Russia. Now, I don't know what Russia's rules are on guns, but whatever. So yes, the U.S. makes up 33% of the combined population of these 36 countries, and they have the top 16 listed because the bottom 16 or 18 or 20, whatever it is, 20 don't have any what they consider mass shootings. The U.S. makes up 33% of it. Yet they account for 76% of the public mass shooting incidents and 70% of victim fatalities in these countries. So the U.S. in those 22 years had 109 public mass shootings. France had 6, Germany had 5, Canada 4, Finland 3, Austria, Czech Republic, Italy, Netherlands, Switzerland, and the UK had 2. Australia, Belgium, New Zealand, Norway, Slovakia 1. And this was through 2022. So,
right here. So, sorry, going back to the definition, and I agree with it. A mass shooting is an incident of targeted violence carried out by one or more shooters at one or more public or populated locations. Multiple victims, both injuries and fatalities, are associated with the attack, and both of the victims and locations are chosen either at random or for their symbolic value. The event occurs within a single 24-hour period, though most attacks typically last only a few minutes. The motivation of the shooting must not correlate with gang violence or targeted militant or terroristic activity. And it has a little asterisk on it because, well, and this is from the Rockefeller Institute of Government, so
it's the same thing I got.
Yeah.
So
I say I agree with that.
If you look at it per capita wise, the U.S. has a gun violence death rate of 4.31 per 100,000 people, that's also considering murder, right? That's not
what the fuck was that?
Just be going like that.
Oh,
yeah. It
fuck.
also has a higher rate of firearm homicides than most other high-income countries. Now, yes, you can consider that down to our Second Amendment right. I'm trying to dance around this a little bit. Well, here, let me just start with this, Dylan. Let me ask you a question here. What's easier to kill somebody with, a knife or a gun?
A gun.
Gun, 100%, right? Because you can do it from much farther away. Knife, you have to be basically right on top of them. So, in a lot of other countries that don't allow their citizens to have guns, let's take in, for instance, the UK, right? They still have a murder rate. The thing is, yes, they're still somewhat done with guns because if a bad guy wants a gun, he's gonna find a way to get a gun, right? It's so that's kind of it. That's just gonna happen, right? But they have to do it with a knife, and like I said, killing someone with a knife is a lot harder, and it's a lot less of a success rate than with a gun because you have to get them. Just because you stab somebody once doesn't mean they're going to die.
Okay, hold on. If we're going to talk about stabbings, they have a little more of a success rate because if you think about stabbings, it has to be taken out personally, right? I mean, you're getting personal with the person,
right? It's most likely going to be considered first-degree murder.
Yeah, 100%.
Right. So there's motive and intent behind it.
So you're not. When you're doing something personal like that, you're either filled with rage or it's a crime of passion or what have you, right?
Right.
The fact is you're not only going to stab him once, you're going to fucking kill him. Like, you're stabbing him like 25 fucking
multiple times. Correct.
So,
but I was just taking in the sense that if you stab somebody once, the survivability rate is a lot better than being shot once. Because
yes, depending on where you're stabbed and or when you're shot.
Correct. But, if you're just stabbed in and out with a knife, as long as they don't get anywhere that's potentially bad or important, you'll have a pretty good success rate or survivability rate. A bullet, it's different because it's going to depend. And this is where the variability, and I'm trying not to say if they fire full metal jack or if they fire copper, jacketed or whatever the fuck, or hollow point. But depending on how powerful the round is, it's actually better if the round goes all the way through. A through and through is much better than if the bullet gets stuck in you.
It depends.
In most cases, a through and through is better. Because if the bullet is stuck in you, most likely if it's in you, it's probably broken apart a little bit. And then now through all that transportation, now it's like you have a tiny knife in there slowly cutting away at more and more. Where if it's through and through, yes, you got two holes in you or you got one big ass hole in you, but there's nothing left in you to do more damage. So as long as they bandage you up well, right, in the transportation process from going from wherever you got shot to the hospital, you're not going to have more damage done to you internally.
And here's a scary thought for you. Depending on where you get shot, it could ricochet in your body.
Right. Where obviously with a knife, that can't happen because the knife's attached to your hand through a handle. So,
but it's a lot of getting lucky per se. If you get stabbed and they take the knife out, because it's better to leave the knife in, right? If they take the knife out, there's a chance that you could bleed to death.
Right. It's better to leave the knife in because now it's plugging the hole.
Yeah.
As morbid as that sounds, but it's the same thing as like if you get a nail stuck in your tire, it's better to leave the nail in your tire than to take it out.
Yeah,
right, until you plug it. But I'm saying if you go to a discount tire or a Bell tire or whatever to get it plugged, you leave the nail in the tire. Yeah. Because now the nail is acting as least somewhat as a plug, where if you take it out, now it's gonna be like it's gonna
right.
So
we drive it on rims here shortly.
Exactly. So I mean, if you look at it, the top 10 countries with the highest murder rates per 100,000, so highest per capita. No surprise, usual suspects: Jamaica, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Trinidad and Tobago, St. Lucia, Honduras, Bahamas, Belize, Ecuador, Mexico, Colombia. Usual suspects, right? The countries with the lowest murder rate per capita per 100,000 people: Singapore is at the lowest at 0.12. Oman, which is actually kind of surprised considering where in the country it is. Macau, Hong Kong, Switzerland, South Korea, Italy, Norway, Slovenia, and Cyprus.
But that's murder rate.
Correct. So, I mean, I think the U.S. Where was the U.S. at? Like, for instance, in the murder rate category, right? The Mexico is at, because it just happened to be right next to the U.S. here, is at 26.11 per 100,000, right? So per 100,000 people, 26 are going to get murdered, right? The U.S. is at 6.38. By no means is that low. I mean, there's a lot of other fucking countries that are lower. Like, for instance, they have here, like, Morocco is 1.65. See, to me, I have a hard time believing that because just because of the part of the world where Morocco is, I would not consider Morocco a safe country. You know what I mean?
It just depends on how they run things there. Like,
right, but to me, some of this is a little skewed because I'm like, I would not be going to Morocco on holiday.
Well, like, so. I probably would never go to Brazil, but Brazil has, and the last time I knew, they started taking, like, cartels out. And not, like, taking them out to dinner, like, putting them 6 feet in the ground. Like, they don't give up, they stopped giving a fuck, pretty much. So they just send, like, their military police in there, and it's like, yeah, go fucking kill them or something. If they start shooting at you, put them down. It's like, damn! And 9 times out of 10, cartel members start shooting, so. No, it's a slow, steady, whatever they're doing over there. You know, at least they're doing something, but.
Right, so, like, some of the, like, this doesn't have information from Brazil on its murder rate. Right. It doesn't have information from most of Africa. It doesn't even have information from all of Europe, and it doesn't have Russia's, nor China's, right? So. It's a very incomplete map. Do guns make a difference? Yes, because it's a lot easier to kill guns. However, I have yet to see a gun kill somebody on its own.
Well, right.
Like, every time there's a problem with a mass shooting, we all say it's the gun's fault. Like, somehow it's Remington's fault for making an AR-15. How is it?
I don't think people are blaming the actual gun. They're just blaming. Okay. Take, for example, a few years ago when I first bought my gun. When I first bought one of my guns, I went into Cabela's because that's where I went, and that's where I ordered my gun from. Yep. Went in there, they did a background check. They, ask me about my mental health, how am I doing, whatever.
It's fucked.
Somebody could have just completely fucking bullshit their way out of that shit.
Yeah, there's 100%. 100%.
Like now, though, so now Michigan implemented a law where you have to get an LTP, license to purchase.
Only for a handgun.
Nope. It's for every gun now.
I thought
every
it was only
single
for
gun.
handguns.
No, I looked it up. They updated it to where it was
freaking bastards.
Yeah, so now it's every gun that you want to, or firearm that you want to buy, you have to get an LTP for it. Unless you have a CPL.
You have a CPL, correct.
So it just, fucking, it just makes, now I don't go against it. I'm all about making it hard for other people. Like, the idea is if you add implemented steps, this person could get cold feet. They could be nervous. They're going to be, whatever. And then you have to register the gun. Whatever. Like, now there's no way that you could get away with this, with a crime that you commit with whatever gun you purchase. Because now it's on record that you have this gun. And if it's ever used in a crime, you're going to be the first suspect.
Right, but regardless of the license to purchase, it was still on record anyways, because obviously if you bought it from Cabela's, from Dunham, whoever, right, they're going to have record of purchase.
Yeah.
They're going to have to run a background check for you to have it anyway. It's just, to me, it's just an unnecessary step. Like you said, it's just in the rare instance of the people who don't already have a firearm, right, they get pissed off. Like, you screw me out of $4, right, and I get pissed off, I'm going to go kill you. Well, now I can't just go to a store and pick up a gun, buy some ammo, and
go kill you.
And 2 hours later, go shoot you. Right? There's more steps involved. But where I was going with this is that every time there's a mass shooting, we always blame that there's not enough.
If he didn't have a gun,
right? Like, they're always placing blame on the gun. The gun is not the one that was doing the mass shooting, right? Like, in that incident down in New Orleans where the guy took a pickup truck and ran through a bunch of people, okay? Now, I don't mean to dish on Ford here, but it was a Ford F-150 Lightning that the guy used. No one's shitting on Ford for building the F-150 Lightning. Yet, when something happens, everybody shits on Remington or Ruger or Winchester or whoever, Smith & Wesson, for making the gun. You know what I mean? It's just stupid. It's just stupid. It's like, I think the problem is that it's not that it's not the gun's fault. It's that there's not enough mental help in this country.
Well, no, because if you take a look at how everybody treats mental health, and not trying to pick on, the right side here or anything, but if you take a look at how conservatives treat mental health, not saying all conservatives do, obviously, but, they're always like, you got to be a man's man. And then, you get people who are, like, stressed the fuck out to the max. Now, granted, I think the left side is a little too soft, but that's just me. I think there's a healthy correlation between receiving mental help and tough, having tough skin. Right? I mean, I'm not going to say I was fucking bullied in high school or anything, but...
Yeah, you fat ass.
But, we fucking fucked with each other all the time.
Right.
I didn't get pissed off and was like, I'm going to fucking kill this school. Fuck you guys. No. Yeah. No, it's because I know you guys were joking, but, some people are a little more sensitive to that type of stuff. So, you can't just have a one fix-all solution to either side. And you can't just be like, well, you're a man, you got to tough it out. Or you're a woman, you can't, you're always using your emotions or whatever. So it's just like, we had to figure something out. Because obviously either you're going to piss off a lot of people, including myself, if you get rid of all firearms.
Well,
that goes against the Second Amendment, right?
That won't ever happen. Like,
Right. I mean, if I have to, I'll fucking go back to Musket Age. I'll have a fucking cannon sitting right up at the top of my stairs. Have some motherfucker come in here and be like, "Hey, bud, you ever heard of the Civil War? You're about to."
Yeah.
Here's a history lesson. Boom!
Here's a civics lesson.
You know how fucking badass that would be? It's just some dude opens the door and you're like, "Hey, bud, you're about to have this history lesson." It's just a fucking cannon staring right back at him. You know what? I'm good. I'm gonna see myself out.
This is 2854. Oh, my bad. I'm looking for 2856. My bad.
Sorry, bud. My
bad, fam. Yeah,
but I think.
Well, like my thing in the mental health is like mental health thing. It's like of course, everybody's always like, "I got anxiety. It's like, stop. Okay, settle down. It's fine. We're gonna get through this. Just because something didn't go your way this one time doesn't mean the world's ending.
Okay. So I'm
not saying that anxiety is not a thing.
Yeah. I know what you're saying. Yeah.
People play that card a little much, is what I'm getting at.
It's the same thing with like what is it? The Visco girls or whatever. Like, I'm so depressed right now. It's like, you don't seem depressed, but whatever.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. Along with those lines, there's a lot of misconceptions. And unfortunately, it's just like sexual assault allegations. There's so much people muddying the waters that when it actually does happen to somebody, or somebody actually struggles with something, because the fucking waters are muddied enough, they don't get believed. For example, like when you just said, when somebody claims that they have anxiety, that looks bad on, like, me. Now, for whatever reason, it's, I'm not as social as what I was in the last few years. And I think it's just due to social anxiety. And let me tell you, an idea of social anxiety, okay? In high school, I went to the store by myself. For whatever reason, I'd start getting nervous because I'd be in the line, right, for self-checkout. I feel like I'd be holding up the line. And the dude behind me or whoever could give less of a fuck. It's like, I want to get in and get out. That's all it is, right? But I'd start to panic because I'd use cash or whatever, and I'm just like, it's not going in! Stop taking my card! So it's to, like, that dude. That dude was probably having a panic attack because his card wasn't taken.
But it was over a stupid thing.
Right, yeah. So it's just stupid thoughts like that. Like, social anxiety makes you think that people are always staring at you or judging you or, just focusing on you for no reason.
Right.
And the thing is, to get past that is you just have to expose yourself to more social situations, because then, you see that, okay, nobody gives a fuck.
Yeah.
I mean, not saying that nobody gives a fuck about you, but
right. As long
as in the public sense, nobody cares.
As long as when I'm sitting at this bar, I don't literally shit my pants, right? We're gonna be okay.
Right. You start stinking like
drop an N-bomb. We're gonna be okay. So
right. Yeah, you'll be fine.
Yeah.
So
no, I like, you don't really see anybody that has anxiety in that point go and shoot up a school. Right? It's always like some other severe mental illness that they have.
Yeah.
I think that's the problem. It's not that, and
that's the thing.
This is going to sound kind of bad here. I think all the people out there that have the anxiety are kind of using up all the available resources. So then the people with actual mental health issues can't get the help that they need.
Well, okay, so there's a stigma, right? I'm gonna switch back here on you. The issue is that, right, you have people that claim they have anxiety, but they just have, whatever fucking their fucking hair fell out one day and they're like, oh my God, I'm stressed out.
What I like to call it is they're pussies.
So, like, should there be a time where I go and maybe talk to somebody? Sure. I don't feel I need it. I mean, and then that's how people kill themselves. But, boy,
what a hell of an argument you're making here.
The thing is that, people that have actual mental health issues, for example, schizophrenia, bipolar issues, whatever.
That's actual issues.
Yes, and they're actual mental disorders.
Right.
And somebody who's, right, you're saying taking up the resources. It also doesn't help that those people that have those mental issues feel that they don't need it, and they do.
Well, yeah, that especially if they're schizo, right?
I'm seeing shadows and I'm hearing voices, guys. But you're in here by yourself. Who said that?
Yeah, right.
So
it's that. I'm not disagreeing that, yes, a lot of people that need the mental health, they are like, oh, I don't need no mental health, right? It's like, no, everything's great, right? As they're walking out in a fucking Hitler outfit. It's like,
all right, buddy. How about go back inside?
Yeah, right. So I'm not saying that is not a thing.
How many times are you going to say fucking that? Holy fuck.
But what I am saying that...
Over here, that.
So like fucking foghorn leghorn over here, Jesus. But what I am saying is, there's obviously there's only so many therapists within the U.S.
Not if you have BetterHelp. certified therapist. But again, that has its limits too. Yeah.
Right? Some people don't do well through the phone. They actually need to go inside of an actual therapist office, lay on the nice little couch, and talk about their problems that way. Right? The BetterHelp is just for the people that BetterHelp, to me, this is not a sponsored ad by any means, but BetterHelp to me is perfect for those pussy fucks out there that have the anxiety, who get upset when something doesn't go their way just a little bit and they think the world is falling apart. It's like, no, we're okay, right? You caught one red light on the way to work. You're gonna be fine. Okay? There's no need to drive into a...
Stop taking my card! And how did you feel in that moment?
Yeah, there's no need to wrap your car around a tree, okay? Like, that's good for BetterHelp, is those simple therapy sessions. Where the more in-depth one, where the therapist can actually be in the same room as like
right, and it's like, so what traumas did you have as a kid? Well, I saw my grandma die in front of me, but I'm fine. Are you sure about that?
Right, but being in the same room and kind of getting, like, yes, through the phone you can see their facial reactions, but you can get a vibe from someone when they're in the same room as you. Even if they don't do anything, you can just get a vibe off of them.
Yeah.
You can't really get that through the phone. And I'm not knocking on BetterHelp at all, right? It's just...
I would. I guess I heard they're pretty scummy, but that's just me.
Well, they all are.
I mean, if they're helping people, I don't really care. As long as they're actually helping people.
Right, but it's... BetterHelp to me is better for those simple, like, just pick-me-ups, dust-offs. You're gonna be fine. Everything's fine. We're not falling apart. We don't need to go and do the Kurt Cobain, all right? But an actual in-house... I
like when the demons talk to me. Okay!
Like that type of shit right there, you should actually go to a proper therapist office, right? And talk about it that way.
No. So, and then that's the other thing. Therapy is not going to help those that are truly gone, all right? Like, and I'm talking about
you mean like
get fucking
gone.
Jeffrey Dahmer and shit like that, right?
Mentally gone, right? There's no coming back.
I like to eat people for fun.
Yeah, see, like, you're not changing
that. I don't think therapy is going to help, buddy.
Yeah, right. The only thing that's going to help that is some high-speed lead poisoning, so...
But, having... and there's just, certain things that should just... That's the entire thing, is, like you said earlier, if a bad guy wants something and it's illegal, they're a bad guy. They're going to get it, right?
They're going to get it. They're going to find a way to get it.
It doesn't matter. They're a criminal. They are already a criminal. They don't give a fuck about breaking the law.
Yeah, right?
Unless they're reformed. And then obviously, they do, but besides the point.
But then they're probably not going to go buy a gun illegally.
Right. They're not, if they're reformed and they're like, I'm a felon, I'm not going to go buy a gun.
Right. My prime example of why I don't think severe gun control works is because, well, I'll just show you the city of Chicago. You're not allowed to have guns in the city of Chicago, yet it has one of the highest murder rates in the country. Now, how does that work? So
yeah, exactly.
It's the U.S. is different than the rest of the world in that sense, in that guns are just so American, I guess you could say.
Well, you have to. The thing is like you can't. Right, you can, have guns, whatever. It's the issue is you have to get to where you can, like, crack down with them on the streets. Because if you just crack down on the civilians having guns, that's not going to change anything.
No, in fact, it's going to make it worse, right?
You make our lives harder to get a gun, which is sure whatever. It weeds out, the first set of people that are like that get cold feet about taking out. Robbing a place or taking their, somebody out.
But that's a small percentage of the actual murder rate.
Yeah, it's a small percentage. Because then you have, people that, want to kill, and they're like, well, I need a gun. Oh, I'll just go down the street and go to Timbuktu's on the corner and buy a gun.
Yeah, it's all black market done. So it's like, the people that are doing that, they're not going to Bass Pro.
Or,
buy their gun.
Now, I'm not going to tell you where I've heard this, but, or some people go to pawn shops and buy guns that way because
it's all can be done under the table.
Let's be honest here. Pawn shops aren't really the most notable places to go to. So
but cash is king, right? What's a good way to keep somebody quiet? Cash. So
hey, guess what? Give me this gun for about you're selling it for about $500. I'll give you $700 if you shut the fuck up.
No, I'll give you an extra $300 if you keep it quiet. Sure. Fucking throw in a box of ammo too. Here you go. Have a good day. I think, like I said, the problem is guns is so entrenched in our country, in our history and everything that, first of all, you can't get rid of it. It's never going to happen because, well, it's number 2 in the amendment thing, right? Pretty important. And it's just like when you look at Norway, a country that has one of the lower murder rates, it's like you look at their history and it's all Vikings and shit, right? It's not guns. It's not guns because they as a country have been around a lot longer than us. How did we get independence? Through guns, right? Through war,
revolt, yeah,
right. So
another thing to look at too is, besides taking into account the history of America and stuff like that, guns play a significant role in a lot of the shit that we do. Oh, you want to fucking play Russian roulette? Sure, go ahead, I guess, but. Another issue to take into consideration is, prison reform. Like, you get I don't know what statistically it is, but, people that get treated like shit in prison, which is all prisons, they're going to come back out doing the same shit because, guess what? They're down on their luck and they're pissed off because they got treated like garbage. They're like, you know what? Fuck these people. I'm going to fucking do whatever I fucking want. So, if you give people that mentality of like, hey, we're going to treat you like an animal, they're going to stay an animal. Come on. You're a professional.
I know.
No. So, I've always agreed with that because if you take a look at, I think it's Denmark or something like that. I can't remember. Finland, something like that. Where you get arrested and you go into like a 3-star, like a 5-star hotel room. But nobody not nobody, but a very small percentage of people that get out reoffend.
Yeah,
and,
I think
and it's like big crimes too, like murder and shit like that.
Right. But also too, murder is not a big thing over there to begin with. Right.
Right. Yeah, and that's because
like their stuff's a lot more petty crimes, if that makes sense.
Right. And they keep people from reoffending. And that's where I think people should start here is like, okay, the petty crimes. So you had an ounce of weed on you while you were fucking driving in a state that doesn't allow weed. Who gives a fuck? You weren't smoking it. Right? You just had it on you. Who cares?
Right.
It's
now,
weed.
We can do a whole argument about weed some other time.
Right.
If we also take smaller stuff too, but it's like at the same time, if you don't crack down on that stuff, then you get an instance where you become California.
Or here's another thing. There was another country that made every single illicit drug a certain amount legal, and all of a sudden they just stopped having a problem with it because let's take a look at why crimes actually happen. You're going against the law, right? And for a lot of people, that's a thrill. Going against the law. Ooh, I'm doing a line of coke because it's against the law.
It's the
Well, guess what? That line
thrill.
of coke now is now legal. So
that's the whole thrill though behind it. Is
like,
the whole
no, I don't want to do it.
Right. Something that's kind of that thrill is the something that you can't have is the thrill, right? If I can't have it.
No, I don't think we should make like crystal meth or like
because
or stuff like that
the state
a little bit legal.
Because the state of Oregon did that already, and it was a bad fucking idea, and they voted against that. So there's your first. No, I don't think we need to be making meth and fentanyl legal and shit because.
Well, or like drugs like LSD. It's just psychedelics. Don't go fucking driving or anything, but like if you made a small amount of that legal, I think everybody be like there'd be less of like a I'm gonna get in trouble. Yeah, that kind of shit. But
the mushroom thing, LSD or shrooms, whatever, the psychedelics where you go tripping out balls and stuff.
Yeah, you end up in like some fucking mountain area, and you're
right?
What the fuck?
To me, like weed doesn't do that in that same sense, right? Like you could you get high off marijuana, right? But it's not to the same sense where you start dancing naked on top of a table with Ronald McDonald. So, most of the country, I think all 50 states have weed legalized in some form, right? Not in the same sense where like the state of Michigan or Colorado does, where it's like you can go to a pot store, right? Weed store, and pick up weed, right? Pick up a gummy. But they do medically wise, but it's still illegal federally. And so at this point, did I like it when the state of Michigan legalized weed? No, I didn't. But if you look at it, if considering how dangerous, it's not a dangerous drug compared to what's out there, right? It's very low on the danger scale. Yeah. Very low. So it's basically cigarettes just with THC in them. It's what it boils down to, right? And now we know that it's just the THC. And there are good things too, CBD, if you take out the THC, the part where it gets you high. And so at this point, I think the U.S. government should just legalize it because they can collect tax money from it.
There you go.
So at this point, it's just because most states have it legalized, just legalize it, right? And then just say we're going to slap on, I think the state of Michigan has like a 10 or 11% tax on marijuana sales, and say, okay, we're going to slap on a federal 6% tax, right?
Yeah.
And then you just take the 6% from the original price, not 6% of what it is after the sales, the state tax, then 6%. No. And that's how it works. That's how sales tax works. Anyways, that's how it should just be. I mean, if you look at the price of cigarettes are only $6-7 a carton for a pack is because most of that is through tax. We collect a shitload of money through sin tax, which is cigarettes and alcohol. And so at this point, I think the U.S. government should just be like, fine, we'll make if they want to have weed, fine, just give us some money. You can have weed. Fuck it. At this point.
Boom.
Right? Now, still put in places that you can't transport, 600 pounds of it across state lines. Like, that's getting a little fucking ridiculous. Like, you can still...
Yeah, well, it's the same thing with, like, alcohol and stuff. There's certain alcohols you can't transport across state lines.
Like, you could carry... you could carry... you can carry alcohol across state lines. You just can't carry it, like, a truckload of it. Like, if you have a case of fucking Busch Light you've bought in Florida... Right, you drive home.
Yeah, nobody gives
cares,
a fuck. But
nobody cares. Other than the state of Michigan's gonna be a little upset because you didn't give us the sales or the alcohol tax, but they don't care. Right now, if you have a truck full of cases of Busch Light that you're taking to Michigan, now that's a problem because now you're circumventing law. Right, you're doing it with intent.
Yeah,
like for example, down in Florida, they had Busch Light did a special Daytona 500 can. Down in Daytona. Well, that's not up here in Michigan. They didn't do the cans up here. So my brother wanted a case of that for the can, right? So my mom bought a case because that's the only place you can get the can, the special limited edition can. But it's not like she's like, okay, yeah, here, let me buy fucking 3 pallets of it and then go sell it up in Michigan. No, that's not what she's doing, right? So it's just, that's where I am to the point with weed, is that it's like, just at this point, just legalize it, slap on a 5, 10, 200, whatever the fuck you want, percent tax, and make all the people, all the stoners out there, at least pay up a little bit, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, you're still going to have it illegally because it's cheaper, right? Illegally, because you don't have the tax added onto it. But, I mean, if you look at it, the amount of money that the state of Michigan brought in through, like, the first couple years through marijuana sales, it's ridiculous. I mean, we're talking about tens of millions of dollars.
Holy fuck.
Yeah, it's a lot of fucking money that they brought in. So, it's that's where I am at that point.